Hi everybody, I'm Tara from Crooked Row, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about companion planting. I know there is a lot of information on the internet about companion planting, but I actually have a lot of experience with companion planting, and I wanted to go over sort of some of the myths and what I know to be true from companion planting. So I would say that one of the biggest myths with companion planting is that there are people who will say don't plant this vegetable with this vegetable. They're diametrically opposed to one another, and I have just not found that to be true. So I think that, I can't remember if it was peas and onions or something along those lines. Last year I was told by someone like, oh, you can't plant those together, and we did, and we had a great crop. So I think that companion planting is good. There are things that are beneficial for each other, and so sometimes it's just a matter of they're beneficial for each other because they have like requirements. So, and what I mean by that is like tomatoes and basil grow so good together, and it's because they have the same light requirements. They sort of have the same watering requirements. I know that any herb planted with with crops will deter bugs. So that's another thing, another benefit that I have noticed. Like our peppers last year, so we had two different patches for peppers. And so one patch was completely planted with cilantro and basil and onions and you know, things that like smell really strong. Those were completely unaffected by pests. And so I keep turning around looking at the patch like it's still there. And so those things, I think that they're really important to plant together. So this year I will be doing my tomatoes, peppers, and basil all sort of planted together. But one thing that I did want to point out is that marigolds and nasturtiums are extremely good companion plants for, actually, especially marigolds, for almost all plants. Like there's about 27 vegetables that can benefit from being planted with marigolds. One reason why I started doing marigolds in the garden was because it actually helped a lot with bunnies. The bunnies don't like the smell of it, and so they kind of don't bother the other plants. Now, I'm not saying that a bunny can't jump over your marigolds and munch away on your cabbage. Cabbage and all the brassicas, we kind of just keep sort of under lock and key in our salad bowl, because bunnies will, I mean, they'll essentially eat no matter what you have planted next to it. Bunnies will eat regardless. So we do protect our brassicas a lot, but the first year that we were here, we had like 100-foot row of tomatoes planted, and there was a bunny that came through one night and he literally ate every single tomato plant. And once they're large, once tomato plants are large, they typically won't bother them at all. But especially, I mean, bunnies and deer will eat almost anything if it's small. So all of your seedlings, like, beware. And so marigolds help keep those at bay, but marigolds also help with like aphids. If you have an aphid problem, they'll keep a lot of different flies and things away. I know that dill planted with carrots helps keep that like carrot, that, I can't remember what it's called now. Maybe we'll post it on the screen. Elijah. It helps keep that away. Sometimes just like the smell of herbs will help keep certain pests and things away. So another one is trap crops. I know that what's funny about this though is last year we planted a ton of pumpkins. That was so much fun. We'll actually link that video down below of our pumpkin harvest. That was a lot of fun last year. But we planted blue Hubbard squash. We planted, what are those called? Is it Jarrahdale pumpkins? They're like squat and blue. They're really cute. And then we planted Connecticut field pumpkins and Amish pie pumpkins. And we planted the blue Hubbard squash because they were actually supposed to be the trap crop. the trap crop for squash bugs. Oh, we get squash bugs so bad here. And that turned out to not be true almost at all. Like, wouldn't you say that we had far more on our regular orange pumpkins than we did on the Blue Hubbard squash? I think we found 2 on our Blue Hubbard squash, and all the rest were on our orange pumpkins. So, I mean, again, like sometimes these, I don't even want to call them wives' tales, because I think in some areas and some bugs, it depends on what you're struggling with. It depends, there's a lot that it depends on. So you kind of have to find what companions work in your area. So for us, when I plant lots of herbs around my plants, they are largely untouched. Onions and garlic are another great one. So like my potatoes, this year I'm planting onions between each of my potato rows because the Colorado potato beetle can sometimes, now it has never affected our yields and it's never affected the actual crops, but we have noticed that the Colorado potato beetle will come out, and instead of spraying, you just might as well, like, we use loads of herbs in my house for cooking, and you also want them for drying, for overwinter. Of course, we grow tons of onions and we use tons of onions in our household. So I want to encourage you to get this book, Carrots Love Tomatoes and Roses Love Garlic. This is a great starter book. So while I love to reference this, they have it like perfectly constructed too. I mean, they even talk about wild plants and they break it into herbs and all sorts of, like, they even give you schematics for how to set up your garden and things like that. So this is a really, really good book. But the reason why I say it's a good starter book is because, again, in your area, you're going to struggle with different things. And so kind of play around with things. I love the use of using flowers. And again, marigolds, nasturtiums, zinnias are a great one to draw in pollinators. So this whole mix of utilizing companion planting and beautifying your garden, I think is just super smart. Of course, like sweet alyssum, I noticed not only does it bring in pollinators, but it also brings in certain beneficial wasps. And those wasps will eat bad guys like aphids. So I highly suggest that you figure, like, sort of make a plan. I have maps that I make of my garden and how I plan on laying things out, and then usually in the middle of the season, especially if I didn't do it in pencil, I suggest doing it in pencil. If I did it in pen in the winter, then I might have to redraw the map or start erasing things and putting new things in, but it helps me kind of keep straight where things are. And at the end of the season, you can go back and you can actually start writing in what worked for you and what didn't, what you just didn't even notice. Some things are purported to give another plant more vigor. Now, I haven't experienced that so far. I have, though. I did want to encourage you, though, that we have seen definitely where they are mutually beneficial, and some of them can keep some insects or pests away. We'll just say pests, keep some pests away. So today I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start a couple trays of marigolds, because I like to put marigolds around a lot of things in the garden. And so it not only does it help like bring color and make the garden look pretty, but it also helps with the pests. So let's get started. have it. We did 3 trays, so 70 in each tray. That's 210 marigold plants that we could have. And again, not everyone's gonna plant as much as we do. We do at least 70 tomato plants. I definitely have 60 or 70 pepper plants. So I will also plant marigolds with like my bush beans and different places throughout the garden. I'm not super crazy about the color of marigolds, but they work so well that you kind of got to put them in there. So that's what we do. We also plant nasturtiums, and again, lots and lots and lots of herbs throughout the garden to help us through. I really would love to know what either your plan is. Like, I love when you guys tell me what your plan is or what works in your area. Again, it's going to depend on what you're fighting and things like that. We don't fight aphids a whole lot here. I'm not for sure if that's because we've always companion planted. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and put these in the grow room. It's about 4 weeks, maybe 5 before we plant out tomatoes and peppers. So that's like the perfect timing to start my marigolds now. I'm going to put those in the grow room until they all pop up. And then once they do, I'll probably move them out into the greenhouse. It's so warm and such stable temperatures. I could probably get away with keeping them outside, but I'm not going to. I have too many animals that run around, so I just know they would like nibble all of them. So they're going in the grow room. And so remember, if we can start our companion planting, anybody can. Thanks. Bye.